Welcome to Home Means, where the heart of Nevada comes alive. I'm your host, Heather Brown, and this is a place where we uncover the real stories behind the people who make our state extraordinary. From unforgettable adventures to everyday moments that shape us, this podcast is all about the voices, the faces, and the experiences that make Nevada truly unique. Let's dive in and get to the heart of what home means. I'm really excited today to have the executive director of the UNLV Blackfire Leadership Initiative, Jan Jones Blackhurst. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Just a delight.
I'm really excited because when I think about Las Vegas, you're kind of the first person that comes to mind for me. I think I've just really enjoyed getting to know you over the last couple of years, and I love how much you do for our community. So having you on the podcast really means a lot.
I'm really excited to be here too, Heather. Thank you.
So when you hear the words home means, what is the first memory or feeling about Las Vegas that comes to mind?
The first memory for me was coming here in 1983, and you got on a plane in Los Angeles. You flew through pitch black. From the moment you took off, it was pitch black. And just before touchdown, there was this green neon light that came up from the middle of the desert. And you landed, there were 6 gates at McCarran, and you walked across the street to surface parking. But you felt like you'd landed in Oz.
I love that. You felt like you landed in Oz. I actually never knew there was a green light.
It was Fremont Street, because there was no Las Vegas Strip. There was no Las Vegas. Las Vegas was Tropicana on the south, Fremont on the north, Eastern on the east, and Decatur on the west. That was Las Vegas.
And also, for folks who go to Fremont Street today, it has the overhang. And
that wasn't there.
That was not there.
Fremont Street was the neon. There was really very little neon on the Las Vegas Strip.
Wow. And obviously, you had an opportunity to represent Fremont Street and downtown as Las Vegas's first woman mayor.
Yes.
And I'm curious how that experience getting elected in what is arguably the old boys club, but how
Not
did...
arguably.
Yeah, that is, yes. And it definitely is still a little bit like that. But I do appreciate people like you and now Mayor Berkeley and, every other strong woman leader that we've had in the state who really is trying to chip away at that and make it, equitable for everyone. And I just want to say that because I do appreciate, I know the work that you guys have done laid the foundation for me to be able to run for office and be taken serious. And
what's unique about Nevada, when I first said I was going to run for mayor, it was a group of women who we'd actually passed Proposition 7, which was putting Nevada's right to choose in Nevada law. And everybody said we'd never get that passed, and we did. And then they came and said, run for mayor. And I went to the 4 guys who run politics in Nevada, who are still the same 4 guys who run politics in Nevada, and said I was going to run. And they all said, don't be ridiculous. You can't possibly win. And so that didn't sit well with me. So I thought, this is just marketing. I'm going to run anyway. And it's very interesting because I won in the primary. 2 weeks before the election, everybody said I couldn't possibly win. I was 22 points behind. When I walked into the room on election night, there was, 20 people there I'd never seen in my life, high-fiving each other, congratulating themselves on my victory. But what it tells you is sometimes you just have to have enough trust in yourself to take a risk. The poll said I couldn't win. They were wrong. I still to this day believe that a lot of women voted for me who may not have told a pollster in those days that's what they were going to do. So you have to take a risk, and if you now look, it's hard to be what you can't see. A lot of young women, including young women like you, saw that a woman could be in a leadership position, which inspired them to seek their own leadership positions, which is why Nevada is the first state in the country to have a majority women legislature. That doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
It's sort of our cowboy roots, I think, a little bit.
And I do genuinely believe that you can only aspire to something if you know it can be possible.
That's right. You can't be what you can't see.
And your imagination can only take you so far.
Right.
But it's this like innate believing in yourself, knowing that even though you're going to hear a lot of naysayers, what you bring to the table is valuable, and having that confidence. And I don't think a lot of people do.
Confidence is the key.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in a world of no's. My father had me take typing so I'd always be able to find a job. So you have to believe in your own yes. And you have to have, I've always said, women don't need to be taught to be leaders, but they can be given more confidence to take the initiative to lead.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me personally, I've dealt with imposter syndrome, and I realized that was just me not being confident because everybody else in the room knew less than me.
Right.
And I don't know why I was holding myself to a higher standard. And it truly wasn't until I was able to peek behind the curtain and see how things actually were done and how people in power actually acted when there wasn't a camera on them, when I was like, wow, I am the same. We are the same. Why am I? So it also just being transparent. And I think that's one of the goals of this is I want to tell our story in such a way that people aren't afraid to see themselves in that same place.
That's right.
Right? Stepping up to the table. And if I love the old adage, like, if there's not a seat, bring your own.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody will move if you're bold enough to bring yourself to the table.
But you also, and I learned this in politics, when I was elected, all of a sudden I had this moment of, what have you done? What do you know about being an elected official? So you have to take the time and study and learn and watch people who do it well and how the system works, and then apply that knowledge in a meaningful, smart way. So you don't just bring yourself to the table, you become really effective at that table.
I've really taken the approach of asking better questions. And the more questions I ask and listen, I'm, what's the one mouth, two ears, and acting accordingly. And with that information, I can make strategic decisions. I can watch the people that I want to emulate.
It's always better to listen first, because listening gives you information. You don't have to use the information, but it gives you information.
And I do think that we're in a weird timeline right now where there's not a lot of dialogue being had, and people aren't listening. It's just reacting.
Everybody's reacting and everybody's shouting, and I've never seen much constructive come out of that.
Well, I'm hoping that we can, as a nation, but really just focused on the state, can just continue to do what's best, investing in education, making sure we have a quality workforce, bringing in companies that diversify our economy. Like, these are just things that we have to do as a community. And, we're in Blackfire, and I think UNLV is one of those champions that we got to lean on. We got to help, we got to support, and that's going to really help us.
UNLV is in a very unique space. I mean, they're a true urban university. They're the university of the future. The students at UNLV represent every walk of every community, and it gives them the leg up, the information, the education that they then can deploy and stay here. Hopefully, to your point, we can create enough jobs, enough diverse jobs, enough new jobs that we don't take our young, educated minds and have them move out of state. We want them to stay here.
I know. Well, I look at my own story. I left. To be fair, I graduated in 2008. Not a great time to graduate. But I left, and I'm really glad that I came back. But I don't think a lot of people come back. And then we have this brain drain of incredible people who have gone through our higher ed system, taxpayer-subsidized education, that we're never going to reap the benefits of.
Exactly, and that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And this is why I think I'm such a champion, not just because of being lucky enough to be on the Board of Regents, but because it is a responsibility of the state, if we are going to invest in these students, that we have an opportunity for them to stay here.
One of the reasons I really was a supporter of the studio was that Warner Brothers actually gave me the best answer ever when I asked them, why Nevada? Yeah. They didn't say, oh, you have low taxes or any of that. They said, if we look at our workforce And what we need to make movies and pictures, we need set designers, we need lighting engineers, we need costume designers, we need people who know how to build a stage, take a stage down. And you have that workforce. We want the engineers, we want the tech. So you make sense to us because in one small area, you have all the labor we need. Right answer.
Yeah. Actually, that's a perfect way to think about, because being the entertainment capital, a lot of people look at us as one thing, but this is a way to diversify
Yes.
with the talent and that hospitality that we've led with.
We just walked in, we watched them building a new tech wall. You know, that's the talent that you need to start being a center for movies and things that we can do that diversify, give us jobs that align but are new and plentiful.
Yeah, and I feel like we are offering different types of employment now. I mean, obviously, our higher ed institutions are partnering with businesses, and that is a really great symbiotic relationship that we're just continuing to grow. But I know that there's other things that we're missing, right? And I think this comes back to being an elected official and having the power to invest government money into programs that will help wraparound services for our community. When you were the mayor of Las Vegas, what were some of the challenges that you had to face as the community? I mean, Vegas in the 90s was just growing.
We were the fastest growing city in the United States. We added 50,000 hotel rooms, probably $100 million worth of infrastructure. We went from 15 million visitors to 35 million visitors, and everybody had their eyes on Las Vegas. Now, having their eyes on Las Vegas meant they were really only looking at what was happening on the Las Vegas Strip. And my goal was to make sure that the communities that we were building were attractive to people who wanted to live and work here. And with that, you got to look at families. Do you have nice neighborhoods? Do you have good schools? Do you have parks? Do you have outside areas? We had to change the way we master planned communities to make sure that people said, yes, I pick Las Vegas. And I used to take real umbrage at people who said, oh, well, why would people live in Las Vegas? And let me tell you, Las Vegas has more churches, school, Little League, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, churches than any other size city of our kind in the United States. We're a great place. You grew up here. This is where you want to raise a family. This is a nice place to grow up. But we need to continue building that out. To your point, we need to continue investing in education. We need to make sure there's a plenitude of jobs so that people have choices in employment. We need to make sure that healthcare is state of the art. One of the reasons I'm a big supporter of the Children's Research Hospital is because if you bring research doctors, and we use that program to take our interns at the med school, they're going to want to stay here. To your point, do we want to train state-of-the-art doctors and then send them out of state? No. We want to create infrastructure here that makes this the place to be and stay. And we're close.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that it's almost like we're taking a brand new holistic approach to city building, and we did so well in focusing on infrastructure, city planning. And I think a lot of your humanities background probably went into this, focusing on the fact that we were community oriented. Growing up, I always told people it's a normal place to live. We just have a really fun backyard.
Yeah.
And I like that you bring up the GMEs at our higher ed institution or at our medical school, because, we can be really proud of the fact that we have 4 medical schools in the state, 2 private, 2 public. But if we don't have the graduate medical education, those internships, then they're going to leave out of state. And then we've graduated a bunch of people to no avail.
That's right.
And no actual win for our community.
That's why they're actually looking at doing, part of the state is looking at healthcare as infrastructure. What do you need? Because we're small, to get competitive with each other, rather than being united, having a vision and realizing there's enough for everyone. But you don't undermine each other in trying to get to that goal.
And And also, I've found that when I talk to people now, they're like, man, 20 years ago, we should have done X, Y, and Z. It was a 20-year project. Now it's a 40-year project because we didn't get started. I'm curious, thinking back on your younger self, what is a conversation you wish you would have had, that you wish you could have, that would set us up for success today?
You know what? I think I had those conversations. I just did not always have people that were listening. When we did Fremont Street Experience, when I was elected the mayor of Las Vegas, it used to be that 80% of the people who came to Las Vegas made one trip to downtown. When I was elected, only 10% of the people, because the Strip was changing. They were building volcanoes, they were building huge integrated resorts. And I knew that if we didn't find a way to stabilize the work base and keep all of our municipalities and counties and governments down their courts, there would be no downtown. So my vision at the time was to stabilize the economic base. And we did that with Fremont Street Experience and with building a new court system, with keeping the county downtown. But then I wanted a monorail that started at the transportation center in downtown, ran down the east side of the Strip, connected to the airport, and then ran back up the west side of the Strip. But everybody started competing with each other. And we could have done it then because you had the land, you could put it up. But Steve didn't want anybody taking a monorail from his property over to MGM, and they didn't like Terry, and Terry didn't like them. So everybody started building separate entities.
Yeah.
Really a lost opportunity. Now the Boring Company will come along, and one day that'll be better at moving people effortlessly along the Strip. But we could have built that monorail system for a fraction of what it would cost to do today. And you already would be moving people around in a way more efficient manner.
Wow. I mean, just thinking about that, it would be totally different.
Entirely.
We would just be
It'd be adult Disneyland.
Yeah. It's the shoulda, coulda, wouldas
Yes.
of the past, and that I hope that we can just be more vocal about today. Leaders in power, whether it's government or business or nonprofits, and just saying, hey, for the common good.
For the common good is where people just can't lose sight of decisions you have to make collectively. It's not all mine.
And I do feel like that is a really good example that we should use and use it as a lens when we have I know the county's looking at the innovation district. We got to build that innovation district now, because 10 years from now, how much more expensive will it be? How much less attractive will it be because other surrounding states will have beat us to the punch? That's one of my favorite things about Nevada is I do think that we are so innovative in the ways that we want to be, and we're creative and we lead with yes. But I feel like maybe
but not across the board.
I know.
When you look what we built on the Las Vegas Strip, built, reimagined, torn down, rebuilt, added, beautified, intensified. Think if we did that across the board in all business and business opportunities, and we have full capability to do that. We just don't.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You talked about wraparound services. Steve Wynn came to me one time when I was mayor, and he said, I don't understand. I have a for hire sign up 24 hours a day, and yet I know there are people living in West Las Vegas who don't have jobs. Why are they not coming? And I said, well, Steve, why don't we convene a meeting and see what they say? And what you found out was if they were on public assistance, if they were hired by Wynn Resorts, at the time was Mirage or Bellagio, they had to give up all of their assistance. They had to have a 3-month gap before they were eligible for health care, with no guarantees they were going to keep the job. If they didn't get the job, they lost their health care, they lost their food subsidies, they lost their rent subsidies. Oh, and by the way, they probably didn't have a car, and we had no mass transportation. So if you don't look at all the elements that allow people to be success, how hard just sustain them for 3 months? So you have the the care that ensures we think you're going to succeed in this job, but if you don't, you're not going to lose everything. People sometimes just don't look deep enough for the right answer.
And I don't know if that's our, because when I hear that, I'm like, well, can't we as a state give a 90-day trial?
Should.
Right? And that encourages people to do all these things. And, and I see some laws that come out and I'm like, well, I know the intention behind it, but nobody explained the ramifications that actually will cause us more harm in these ways.
Exactly.
And I don't know if it's because we only have 120 days every 2 years. I don't know.
That's ridiculous in a state of our size. And that happened in the 90s because the Review Journal hated legislators. So they ran an editorial campaign that trashed the legislator, trashed it until they got it on a ballot initiative to limit the size and scope of the legislative session. Sounds good, right? It's not good. It's bad public policy because they don't have time or knowledge, institutional knowledge, to make decisions that are in the collective best interest of the people they represent. It's like term limits. The only thing term limits does is empower a bureaucrat. It sounds good, but it's really not responsible public policy.
Yeah, especially as how fast the legislature happens. You've got 60
limited.
days from the time they get elected. How are you supposed to learn the process, let alone take in all the information? I think
And about every 10 years, you turn over all the legislators. So they come in, they have no background, no knowledge.
I think this example you just gave right then and there is prime to, we clearly have a gap in how we help our citizens, but who has time or wherewithal to actually tackle it, to make the changes? It needs full-time legislators that can actually
full-time legislators who are compensated, that this is their job. Government shouldn't be part-time. I know people love to hate government, but I get frustrated with people when they can't tell me the name of their congressional representative or their senator or their U.S. senator or their rep. If you don't take enough time to educate yourself, then where's your responsibility in the community that you create or don't?
And quite frankly, if we paid them a living wage, we could hold them more accountable.
That's right. Because now they're being paid to focus.
This is your job.
This is your job.
Yeah. And I'll throw the regents into that. I would love to be a full-time regent because I've got 8 institutions that have a myriad of problems, especially with the temperature that's happening across the nation around higher ed, let alone, removing some of the grant and money and, HSI, MSI funding. Our constituents, and I say that not just the, our institutions, the faculty, the classified, the non-classified, the administrative, the students, they need advocates.
Yes.
But
nobody has the time, and $20 a meeting?
Yeah, well, $80. Come on now, inflation. No, an entire year of attending meetings and never mind all the events and taking the prep meeting. Literally 40 hours of prep for a quarterly meeting. I made $2,000 as a regent last year. I donated it back in book scholarships because at that point, I am literally there for the students. So if I can alleviate their pain points of going to school, which is paying for books and things like that, I'll do that. But if it was my full-time job, I would be on campus every single day. I would be doing so much more. And I already do a lot, but I know some of my colleagues can't.
Right.
And when we talk about being frustrated with government, you're frustrated for the wrong reasons.
That's right. You really are. You need to be educated about how government works best and then build a structure that allows government. I hate it when people say government should run like a business. Government is not a business.
Not a business.
Government is in the purpose, in the job of providing services of a high quality to constituents. And you need to do that responsibly and fiscally responsibly and watch your dollars. But you still want the outcome not to make a profit, but that the service standard meets an expectation.
I mean, at the end of the day, if government can make the lives of its citizens better
Right.
in quality and access and ease, then they can live their lives, go to work, have a quality family, raise a good community, build it up, and then we'll go back to this like where people actually cared about each other. And
Exactly.
they could elevate themselves at work. They could spend the time they needed with their newborn. They could, and it makes me so sad because I do believe in that type of government. I believe in the type of government that, is there to make people's lives better, not to elevate the individual politician.
That's right.
And it's bad apples. One bad apple ruins the whole lot. But more importantly, the lack of engagement and care about elected officials, what's on your ballot, engagement other than just political rhetoric. Like, I don't think the speed bump cares who's there. If it needs to be built, it needs to be built.
If people start walking away from government, or you become a government of rhetoric, then the care of people, which is the purpose of government, loses its substance. But that's incumbent on all of us to protect that. And it doesn't have to do with political belief. It has to do in community belief, that together we can build a community that benefits everybody.
And I really want us to get back to that. And I grew up here. I felt like the 90s, we did have that like family forward mentality. I went to Western High School. I loved being a kid in this city. You were mayor at the time. Is there any examples that you can give from your time that would maybe surprise folks?
Well, when I was first elected mayor, we didn't have a bus system. Nothing. We had to totally rebuild the entire water delivery system. People like to think that, water is a new problem. Water is not a new problem. As I said, Las Vegas was about 10 square miles, and UNLV was one building on Maryland Parkway. So what it shows people is what you can build with imagination and tenacity and belief and investing in good government and allowing business to invest in a free market and to build and change. To me, Las Vegas is the best example of what a community can really look like and be like and accomplish. I used to say I don't think I'd want to try to fix California, but we can fix Nevada. And Nevada has a very different, Nevadans have, we may not be of the same party, but we're all Nevadans.
Yeah.
And if we remember that, then we'll invest in and support what matters to Nevadans, not by a political party, but what makes our lives better. And that's been something that's been here from the time I first came here, when I came to Oz. I mean, think of that. That was 1983, 6 gates at McCarran. We walked across the street to surface parking. And yet visionaries and entrepreneurs and people who believed in hard work, everything you see today that has become the replica of every major hospitality destination, that came from here.
And I like that we've been a test bed for so much innovation, and we've led with yes, and we've really embraced this, we are America's playground. We are, Vegas. And you were mayor during a lot of this, and you got a lot of national recognition for your leadership. But I like the way you say that at the end of the day, we are always Nevadans. Mm-hmm. And can you kind of describe what is uniquely Nevada about that, right? Like,
Nevada is, I used to call it the last outpost of Western civilization, because there is a spirit here, a belief that anything, the same way we'll tell a tourist, come and experience any kind of entertainment or joy or fun here. When you're a Nevadan, you know you have not only the ability, but sort of the obligation to be a little different, to not be afraid, to take a risk, to take a chance, to live your life the way you wanted to live it, to not have people impose restrictions and changes. And I think Nevada is very open about that. I don't think we try to make anybody replicas of ourselves. We just try to let them be who they want to be in the best possible environment.
And we have such a juxtaposition in the state,
Oh my
whether
God.
you are in Elko, Vegas, Tahoe, everything in between, Winnemucca, everything in between. We've got everything in this state.
We do.
And we want to embrace it all.
And we don't want to change Elko. We don't want to change the cowmen and the horsemen up in the rurals. We want them to live the life they want to live. I wish I could live that life. I can't. But that's the beauty of the state. It's so different.
What kind of leadership do you believe Nevada needs most right now?
I think that diverse leadership leads to innovation. I believe that if you limit the people who are in leadership positions to being of a type or of a kind or of a look, you're never going to innovate. You've got to come from all different perspectives and backgrounds and aptitudes. I used to, when I was at Caesars, we had a program, we called it Diverse by Design Teams. And you can all look different, but all think the same. The trick is to having different thinkers in a room trying to solve complex problems. So we would say, okay, you've got a marketing problem. Bring in someone from technology. Bring in someone from purchasing. Bring in somebody from government. So in trying to solve the problems, don't exclude. Broaden it a little bit and see how a different perspective can get you to the best outcome.
That's great advice, because if you are solving for X and you only have the people who are experts in getting you to that point, they're not going to understand the different perspectives.
No, you're going to keep getting to X the same way you've been getting to X forever. Maybe there's a way to get to X that's incremental and makes a stop at Y and V and
maybe we don't even have to get to X because we found
we don't because we found a different way to go. But you got to be open to that.
Yeah.
And you have to trust the process. And it can't be hierarchical. It's one of the things when I was mayor that was a passion of mine. You talk about lost opportunities. My first meeting at City Hall, the homeless marched. And everybody said, oh, you can't go out there. These are dangerous, scary people. And I said, I'm going out there. So two of the councilmen came out, they're going to protect me. I'm going, give me a break. And what I found was 150 people who were hot and tired and hungry and had nowhere to go. If you're homeless, you don't have a car. You don't have first and last month rent. You don't have, same thing that Steve Wynn encountered, it's going to be hard to find a job. And so we systematically set out, we created, I found what I thought was the best program in the country, which actually was out of San Diego. MASH, which was Mobilized Assistance and Shelter for the Homeless. We built a short-term facility for intervention care. We built a long-term facility for both women, for families, for individuals. We had a crisis intervention center on Main Street where you walked in. It was 3,600 square feet, and it had cubicles, one for county services, one for state services, one for vet services. So people just had to walk in, do an intake, and they would start to connect them. And when I left office, the incoming mayor believed that homelessness was a choice, and also mayors can be competitive. And they tore the whole thing down. And so today, instead of having 34 homeless on the street, we had 40,000. So sometimes you can be so short-sighted in how you build something that'll take you into the future and take your constituents into the future in a responsible way.
It makes me sad to hear, because you look at some of these countries around the world who have tackled it in a similar manner that you've just kind of described, and they haven't alleviated it, but they have drastically
Way more
yeah.
programs. I used to say I've never in my life met somebody who said to me, you know what, I love being poor. Being poor is so great. I wake up every day and go, how lucky am I? So why don't you want to give people the tools and the skills and the ability to lift themselves?
Yeah.
Because that lifts all of us.
And I do think that, going back to government, that is our role.
Yes.
Is providing opportunities for people to lift themselves
Work
up.
skills, education skills, networks, champions, resources.
I'm really excited. The CSN has the West Side training facility,
Yeah.
and now we're looking at doing something on the East Side.
Oh, that's great.
And I think we're meeting people where they are. We're providing not these lofty goals, but things that they can do today to improve their lives and give them access in their neighborhoods.
And understand, there was a young man I'm actually talking to, Masood. Masood was a student at UNLV, and he was Ethiopian. And there's actually an area in Nevada called Little Ethiopia. And he started a whole not-for-profit. He went on to graduate school and is now working on Wall Street, but he keeps in touch. He went down to Little Ethiopia because he speaks the language, and he said to the small business people, here's ways I can help you elevate your business with marketing, with technology, and they were open to it because he was from there. Mm-hmm. He spoke the language. He came with resources. And what an amazing thing to do. Think if we could all do just a little bit of that. And it's to your point, meet them where they are. Don't try to change everything. See where they are, see what they'd like to do, see how you can give them the skills and the ability to elevate themselves.
It's really taking a community by community approach. If you can elevate just one small community,
yeah,
the ripple effect is insurmountable. Like we would be a totally different
that's right
city and region. Thank you so much. Before you leave, we're going to do a little bit of rapid fire questions.
All right.
Ready? What's your favorite local restaurant?
Pierre's.
Must visit spot for newcomers.
Neon Museum.
Best outdoor activity.
Red Rock.
Hidden gem in Southern Nevada.
If it was a restaurant, it might be Anima. If it was a place, it might be the Speakeasy at the Mob Museum.
What's your go-to coffee shop?
I don't really drink coffee. I'd be boring as ever. It'd probably be Starbucks because it's the only coffee place I know.
Just a local?
Yeah.
Favorite place to unwind?
My house.
Best view in the city?
Oh, from the top of... There's a mountain out West Charleston going out into the Red Rocks where you still can just take a left and go straight up a mountain. And when you sit up there and you have full view of not only the Las Vegas Strip, but of Summerlin and Henderson and everything in downtown Las Vegas, everything that's been built in the last 30 years, it's pretty sensational.
Love that. What's your favorite thing to do on the weekend?
Stay in my house, listen to music, hang with my dogs.
All relatable.
Or go watch my husband race cars.
What is one must-do experience for visitors?
Go to the Coliseum and see a really good performer. it's just the right size and the right acoustics. And I saw Adele there, and I don't think you could replicate that experience. The other thing that has become great for people coming, go to a sporting event. Mm-hmm. Go to the A's not the A's, the 51s in downtown Summerlin. Go to Allegiant Stadium. I went to SoFi. That was $4 billion. We were $2 billion. I think it was $5 billion. Allegiant's better. It's a great stadium. Go watch a Knights game and see. My husband was a hockey player, so I had to go to hockey games all over the world. Believe me, hockey, if you don't know what you're watching, is the boringest sport you've ever seen. You know, they were playing the Oregon, Sweet Caroline.
Yeah.
And then it came to Las Vegas, and we Las Vegasized it. And we put in, and all of a sudden everybody's dancing and everybody's happy. Even if they don't know what they're watching, they're happy.
Uh-huh.
And they're happy when they win. And now you see hockey all over the country upping their game.
I love that we changed the
We
NHL. We did. And last question, what is the most underrated perk of living in Nevada?
To be yourself. The freedom to be who you are and not really have people judge you, because people here come from a lot of different places. The opportunity to take a risk and have it be successful. And the opportunity that if you fail, to get back up again and try one more time.
I love that. And I have absolutely loved this conversation. I just appreciate you taking the time, sharing your wisdom, and obviously for your continued leadership in our community. It's important.
Thanks, Heather.
And I am very lucky I get to call you a friend, because I have just really enjoyed just getting to know you better.
Feel the same way about you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you continue on in government in different roles over the next couple of decades.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of the Home Means community. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with a friend, and check out our Nevada-inspired merch at homemeanspodcast.com. We'll be back soon with another story about the people who make Nevada feel like home. In the meantime, thank you for being part of the Home Means community.